Hey guys, this is Mike from Eldorado Guitars, and I'm coming at you today with a speaker demonstration of the Carstens Grace right here. This is the OG Grace, the 100 watt version EL34. This is number 38 from the original run, signed by Billy Corgan on the back, so this is all just OG Grace. And the number one question that I think everybody has about the Grace is what's with the speaker cabinets? Because Brian's speaker cabinets are a little bit unusual. He makes 2x12s and 4x12s, and his speaker of choice for the Grace, or speakers of choice, are the Celestion Alnico Cream 90 watt and the Weber Blue Dog Ceramic 100 watt. A lot of people haven't heard of these speakers, right? Maybe you've heard of Celestion, but probably not Weber, and you probably don't hear too many Alnico Cream demos, and you probably don't hear any Weber Blue Dog demos. So I think a lot of people wonder, hey, what's the deal with the original cabinet? What does that sound like? And what does it sound like compared to other cabinets with speakers that I know and understand a little bit better, right? Things like a V30 or a Greenback or a Creamback or whatever it may be. So I thought it would be fun to make a video where I show you what the Grace will sound like through Brian's cabinet, but also through a bunch of other different cabinets. So we're going to do 5 cabinets in this demo. We're going to start out here. This is an 87 Marshall Jubilee cabinet from 1987 with the original Celestion G12 Vintage speakers. That is basically the Marshall version of the V30. Marshall actually pioneered the V30 with Celestion for this specific cabinet, like for the Jubilees, right? So you can buy them in other cabinets now and things, right? But they really started with the Jubilee because Marshall wanted a new speaker for its new amp that was coming out in 1987. So this is the OG cabinet. These are very well broken in speakers. They are 8-ohm speakers, and this cabinet is wired for 8 ohms. I'm also going to show you a couple of other cabinets. So we'll also do another 4x12. We'll do a Mesa 4x12 with the Mesa version of the V30, which is a tad darker, and the Mesa cabinet construction gives it a bit of a different sound, so we'll show you that one too. We'll also do a Friedman 4x12. The Friedman 4x12 has greenbacks on top and V30s, just regular stock V30s on the bottom. So you'll get an idea of kind of what that sounds like. And then we'll do 2 2x12s. We'll do a Diezel 2x12. This is a Diezel Oversized 2x12 with the G12 K100 speakers, so very modern speaker. And it's a front-loaded, like I said, oversized cabinet. So we'll do that one too, which will be a totally different sound. And then we'll finish with Brian's 2x12, which is the the OG that I have here with a Celestion Alnico Cream and a Weber Blue Dog 100. I'm going to do 3 bits in each one. I'm going to do a low gain, right, with the volume just cracked open to get some cleans. I'll do kind of a mid gain with the volume around like 5, 6 or so. And then I'll do a high gain with the volume on 10. I'm not going to be changing any knobs on the Grace because, as you know, a lot of the Grace is done from your guitar. So I'm not actually going to be touching any knobs. All the knobs on the Grace are at 12 except the gain and the master volume. So all the EQ is at 12, the bass, middle, treble. The headroom control on the back is at 12, straight up. And the presence control is straight up. The master, I've got it about like 10 o'clock right now, 9:30, 10 o'clock. So it's appreciably open. This would be very loud in the room if for the power station, which we'll talk about in a second. And I've got the gain at about, like, I don't know, 10:30 or so, I don't want to over gain it, right? I want you guys to be able to hear the speakers, right? So trust me, it'll be plenty of gain. You're not going to be concerned. A couple of other things here I want to point out that I am using also. So I'm using a Friedman power station to manage the overall volume. This is not coloring the sound at all. The presence and depth and everything are off. I have A-B'd this using the operate bypass many times to make sure it's completely colorless so that it is not impacting the sound whatsoever, or at least to such a minimal degree that you would never be able to tell. I am running an Earthquaker Devices dispatch maker in the loop for just a little bit of reverb and delay, just a touch to give the signal just a little bit of wetness, right? But that's all. It's very minimal, very minimal. And then the third thing I've got here is this. People have been asking about this. This is just a voltage regulator. That's all this is. It's just making sure that the power that's coming out of the wall is at 117 for the amps. That's all. So we're running at 117 volts, which is standard for all of the amps that you see in this room. So we'll do a couple of different cabinets, see how it sounds. We might even do a bonus cabinet. I've got a Sir cabinet over here. I'd have to move some stuff around. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that today or not, but we'll move that around and see. That has Greenback 75s in it, so we might tack on one more. I'm going to kind of see how it goes, and we'll take it from there. The guitar that I'm using here, this is a 2006, I believe, this is a 2006 PRS Standard 22. So all mahogany, no maple top on this bad boy. It has Lawler pickups in it. So these are the Lawler Imperial High Wines, both in the bridge and the neck. I think the bridge is an F space, just for your awareness. And this guitar does have an Emerson treble bleed capacitor kit, which is my preferred thing. It just makes the volume very even and keeps the bass and treble very even as you go through the sweep of the knob. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll get started. I'll do a clean bit here on the neck pickup. Then I'll do the middle, the mid gain and the high gain on the bridge pickup, and I'll do that for every single one of the cabinets in here. I'm also going to do some cuts in here. I don't usually cut my videos because it's a pain in the butt. I don't like to spend a lot of time doing post-production. I like to spend the time, you know, working on the amps, right, and getting the tones for you guys. But I am going to do some cuts in here because I don't want you, you know, the cabinet moving. I don't want you all to sit through it, so we'll do that. So let's go ahead and start with the Marshall V30s here. These are 70-watt speakers. As opposed to the 60 watts that'll be in the Mesa, so and also 60 watts in the Friedman. So this will be maybe a little different sound. Let's go ahead and check it out. I'll start with a clean bit, and then we'll move over and do the mid gain and the high gain. Here we go. Mid gain. There's our first cabinet. I'll see you in a second for the second cabinet. Okay guys, hi, this is Mike again. We're back with the second cabinet. This is the Mesa with the Mesa V30s. So this is the Mesa version of the Vintage 30, which is slightly different, a little bit darker than the Marshall version. And this cabinet is pretty thick. This is a big, heavy cabinet. This thing probably weighs like 80 pounds. So let's go ahead and see. It is a slant. It's not oversized, I don't think. No, it's not oversized. It's the same size as the Marshall. It is sitting in front of the Marshall, so if it sounds a little louder or something, that might be why, but it's just kind of the way the setup is. I can't really move the Marshall cabinet right now. It'd be a big pain. So I don't think it's going to affect anything, but here we go. So let's go ahead and check it out. We'll do the same thing: low gain, mid gain, high gain, low gain on the neck pickup, and then bridge pickup on the others. I've touched none of the controls. So here we go. Let's check it out. Go over to the bridge pickup and we'll do mid gain, around 5/6. cabinet number 2. I'll see you in a second for cabinet number 3. Okay guys, we're back with cabinet number 3. I've got my Friedman 4x12 here. This is loaded with G12Ms, greenbacks on the top, and then V30s on the bottom. That's the Chinese V30 and the Chinese greenback, right? Just the regular old ones you can buy off the shelf. This cabinet is wired for 16 ohms, not 8 ohms, so I did change the selector on the back of the power station for speaker out to 16 ohms, but we're still running 8 ohms on the Grace into the power station. You can do mismatches safely with the power station, okay? But otherwise, no other changes, haven't changed anything else, so we'll do the same jam. This is angled on the inside, just for your awareness. It looks like a straight cab, but it's actually angled on the inside. So the greenbacks actually are kind of pointing up just like the other two 4x12s. It just looks like a straight cab from the outside. Okay, so here we go. Let's go ahead and we'll check it out. Okay, here's mid gain. Okay, and full gain. Okay, I'll see you in a minute for cabinet number 4. We'll move to 2x12s. Okay guys, we're back with cabinet number 4. We've moved to 2x12s now. Down here I have a Diezel 2x12. This is a front-loaded Diezel 2x12, one of the newer ones made by Bad. Front-loaded speakers generally give a little bit more projection and a little bit higher end. But these speakers are very different. These are the Celestion G12 100. So these are very modern sounding speakers, 100 watt speakers. So very different than some of the other ones we were using that were 20 watts or 60 watts, 70 watts. So more wattage on this one. And we'll go ahead and check out how it sounds. It's in mono operation. I haven't changed anything else. Everything else is still the same. So we'll go ahead and check it out. Here we go. I'll do the clean part first. All right, we'll do mid gain. All right, and high gain. Okay, that is cabinet number 4, and we'll come back and do cabinet number 5, which will be the OG Carstens Grace cab. So hang tight and we'll do the last one. Okay guys, we're back with the last cabinet. Down here I've got the Carstens Grace OG cab. This is a 2x12 in a custom design with a Celestion Alnico cream 90 watt and a Weber Blue Dog ceramic 100 watt. You can get Blue Dogs in Alnico or ceramic. The Blue Dog is kind of like an Alnico blue, but a little bit different. And the ceramic, of course, you know, gives it a little bit more of a modern feel. So let's go ahead and check it out. This would be the one that you would get, you know, if you just order a 2x12 from Brian, this is what you'll get. So let's go ahead and check it out. And then I'll give you my impressions in a separate clip in just a moment. Okay, here we go. All right, here's high mid gain. All right, and high gain. Okay, I'll be back in just a second to give you my impressions. Okay guys, we're back for my thoughts. I'm interested in your thoughts. First of all, I think if you have thoughts, leave them in the comments. I'd love to see and check that out. I think my thoughts are, the cabinet that I think sounds best is probably not shocking. It's the OG Grace 2x12, Brian's 2x12, right? The Carstens 2x12. I think it really just is the best speakers for this amp, personally. Like, I just think that it is. All the frequencies are kind of right. It's like what attracted me to the amp originally, right? Because that's the sound you hear on Brian's demos. So I could be biased by that, but I do feel like the lows on it are very tight, right? So the lows stay really tight. That cabinet makes the mid-range really jump out. I don't know if you guys could hear that on the video, but the mid-range in the Carstens cab really feels very three-dimensional, right? That's what I mean by jump out. I don't mean that it's prominent as much as it just is big. It's this big, wide kind of musical mid-range that really only that cabinet produces. And then the highs stay kind of soft. Like I'm sure you could tell, the highs were not as brittle as on some of the other cabinets. So I think that is probably still my favorite. My runner-up actually surprised me. The runner-up was the Mesa cabinet, which really blew me away. I thought I would prefer this one because this is the one I play most, right? I like this one the best, generally speaking, with all the amps in here, right? So I was really surprised to discover that the Mesa 4x12 was actually my second choice. I thought the lows were really big but tight. You could really feel it hitting you in the chest. The highs stayed nice and muted, right? Like kind of soft, sort of like the Carstens cab, right? Because the Mesa V30s are rolled off a little bit on the top because Mesa amps tend to be a little fizzy, right? And this amp can tend to be a little fizzy, or the Grace, right? So it probably is a good match, right? Those V30s are probably a pretty good match. And I just thought it had a pleasant mid-range. You know, it wasn't as pronounced, it wasn't as three-dimensional as the Carstens cab, but it was nice, right? It was nice. I liked it. And I especially liked it for the mid-gain tones, which I was really surprised by. So yeah, that I think was the surprise number 2 for me. The one I thought sounded the worst actually was, I don't know, it's a tie between the Friedman and the Diezel. I really didn't care for either of those, to be honest. I thought the Friedman sounded really fizzy and really woofy. You could hear a lot of sub frequencies. I'm not sure if they'll be picked up on the recording, but in the room there were a lot of like really, really low frequencies coming out of the Friedman that were kind of farty, you know. But then at the same time, the highs were really pronounced, right? You could hear those Chinese speakers, right? I mean, I hate to be one of those guys, but the Chinese V30s and Greenbacks you buy, I think just have this upper quality to them that it's very harsh, you know? And in some amps it works, right? Like in Dave's amps, it might work, right? Because Dave's amps tend to be pretty dark, right? So I'm sure it works great for Friedman, and that's why I own the cab, because it's a great cab. I've used it with many of the amps in here. I mean, like the Jubilee, for example, sounds killer through it, right? But I didn't think it really worked for this amp, for the Grace. And then the Diezel 2x12, some things I liked and some I didn't. The cleans I thought were great. I really liked the cleans. I thought the cleans on that cab sounded awesome. Very clear, not harsh. The lows were nice, right? It had a very even spread of mid-range. I thought it was great for cleans. But the gain tones were surprisingly brittle. I thought that this cab would be really dark, the Diezel 2x12, because those G12K 100s are very dark speakers, right? They really roll off the treble very sharply. And you can see that on Celestion's website. So I thought that it would sound really dark, but it didn't. When I started playing gain through it, it got this very crispy kind of quality. Slightly different from the Friedmans. It was more of like an upper mid kind of thing, but it just sounded nasally and kind of harsh. So I really didn't care for that one at all. This one was just kind of middle of the road for me. Didn't love it, didn't hate it, right? It's very similar to the Mesa 4x12, just a slightly different sound, right? A little less bass, a little bit more treble. But, you know, you could use either one of those interchangeably and no one would probably notice. But still, I think that the Carstens OG 2x12 is still the way to go for this amp. It really just sounds the best for this amp. I do have a Sir Oversized 2x12 here with Greenbacks. I can't get it out right now. It would be too much to get it out, but I'll do another video in the future with it, just so that you can check it out. Because I do think it is a good sounding cabinet. But if you want to hear that cabinet in action, that's the same cabinet that Zach Wish used in his video. I literally bought the same exact cabinet because, frankly, it sounded awesome, right? And that's actually my second favorite cab with the Grace before this experiment. So the OG Grace was my favorite, and the Sir Oversized 2x12 with the Greenbacks, the H Greenbacks, the 75-watt ones, I think that is the second best sounding cab. But that one and the Mesa both have a cool sound. I think it just would depend on what you're going for. You know, if you're playing something a little more classic sounding, maybe you want the Greenbacks. And if you're playing something a little more modern and aggressive, I would go with the Mesa V30. But I was very surprised how good that Mesa cabinet sounded. I know Brian Carstens, he told me personally that he's not a fan of V30 speakers, so I didn't think that they were really going to sound that great because he probably didn't really EQ the amp around it. But I think in that Mesa, it really was very good. And in this Marshall, it's good too, right? It's just a slightly different sound, right? Now, I wasn't touching any EQ either, right? So one kind of variable in this equation is that I didn't touch any of the EQ, any of the headroom, the bright switches, nothing, right? So for example, maybe with the Diezel 2x12, if I had turned off the bright switch or if I had, altered the EQ, maybe it would have sounded awesome on the distortion stuff, right? Or for example, maybe the Friedman, right? If I were to adjust the EQ up the mids a bit, lower the bass a bit, it could probably sound really good, right? But I was trying to keep this test as neutral as possible. So please don't think that like, oh, I have a Friedman cab, I can't buy a Grace, right? It's like, no, I'm just trying to give you as even of a test as I can give you, right? I might do a second video where I EQ. If people are interested in that, leave it in the comments, right? I could do something where I, obviously do the Grace through all the same cabinets, but I alter the EQ to my ear, right? Depending upon how the cabinet sounds. So I can give you kind of like the best sound from each cabinet. But for this experiment, I really just wanted to do something really flat, right? Where I wasn't touching any EQ or anything and you could just hear the speakers purely. So let me know which one's your favorite. I'm really excited and interested to see what you guys think because like I said, Brian gets so many questions and I've gotten so many questions, frankly, because I do a lot of the Grace videos and stuff about different speakers, right? Because people either don't want to buy one of Brian's 2x12s or they already have a 4x12 or whatever. So hopefully this will give you some idea of maybe what it might sound like with your cabinet. So if you'd like to hear something else or another cabinet or something, let me know in the comments. I'm interested in your thoughts and opinions. And this is Mike from Eldorado Guitars. Please like and subscribe. It really does help me out. And I will see you guys later. Thanks, guys.